Hello everyone, Crash here, this is RTA Motorsports. Today what we're going to be talking about is unfortunately not the sim rig. It is still here, but we're not going to be covering that today. We have some really exciting news. We got a new daily driver and we're going to go over it. I cannot believe it actually has happened, but anyway, here we go.
Welcome to RTA Motorsports.
Hello everyone and welcome inside our 2018 Camaro ZL1.
Next level.
So if you know anything about this car, it's that the hype train is strong with this one. And that's because under the hood, we have a LT4 engine producing 650 horsepower, 650 pounds-feet of torque. This car is just an absolute torque monster down low with that 1.7 liter Eaton supercharger. It really gets this car rocketing to 60. I guess the figures are with the manual 3.7 seconds. Which is an absolute astounding figure, and in the automatic it's like 3.5 seconds, which is just sick. But to be honest with you, I don't care that the automatic is faster. I am so happy that we got the manual. Now I know a lot of you are like, Crash, wait a minute, you're driving it with the wrong transmission. You should be driving it with the 10-speed, but I driven it in the 10-speed, and honestly, we had a 2013 CTS-V sedan, and it was automatic, and I really liked the car, but honestly, after 4 years of ownership, I missed having the manual transmission in my life. I really did. And a lot of my friends, I know they had CTS-Vs with manuals. I know it had that option, but I was ready for a change. I was ready for something new. So in the beginning of the video, you probably heard me say, this is our daily driver. And yes, I do daily drive this car. We have owned it for about a week now. So you can expect more videos to come out, long-term reviews, this and that. How is it? How is it to live with daily? To be honest with you, I drive probably mostly city driving, I guess you could say, with the occasional highway. I live pretty close to where I work. Right now we are running, let's see what our average is. It is better. Right now my average for the past 88 miles is 14.3 miles per gallon, which is not too bad. And that's mostly city type driving, stop and go traffic. Now when we did drive it on the highway, from the point we went on the on-ramp and we just kind of drove down, I drove down I think like 20 minutes down the interstate and drove it back, we were averaging well above 20 miles per gallon. As far as comfort goes, well, that is a much debated topic with this car. I love that auto rev downshift is absolutely insane in this car. Anyway, so as far as comfort goes, this car here, you got to go into it with the right mindset. This car it's very tight on the interior. It feels like a well-tailored suit. You get in the car and everything just feels very focused. You almost feel like you're in a fighter jet. Everything is very like compact and ready to go. I know a lot of people say that you feel like you're in a Sherman tank when you're in this car, as far as the windshield being very narrow and the windows feeling very narrow. Honestly, after about 20 minutes of driving this car, I'm completely used to it and it doesn't feel abnormal to me. once you drive it for a little bit, you get calibrated to it almost. And the rear visibility through my mirror, it's honestly not bad. This is only a ZL1, it's not a 1LE, so we don't have the rear wing kind of blocking our window there. And I could see cars behind me very well. You go inside the car and you feel like you're in something that is very serious. And I really like that sensation. So I think if you go into this car with that mindset, it makes more sense in that aspect. But that leads me to storage. When you live with a car daily, you gotta put things away. And storage is kind of horrible. You have these door pockets, but they're well beyond where your hip is. I'm 6 feet tall. The door pockets don't start until like my hip, honestly, and they go back, and they're very shallow and they're very narrow. You're not going to really fit anything in there besides maybe some receipts, maybe your wallet if you want to store it in there. Cup holders are actually really nice. I like their placement. You do have a smaller, narrower cup holder back here that fits water bottles really easily. You have a bigger one just in front of it that you can fit coffee mugs or anything like that very nicely with a cutout in the middle. So if you do have a mug with a handle, I don't suggest driving like that with one, but it's the cup holder design's very smart, and it's off to the side by the passenger, so it's out of the way from your shifting. You can shift very easily with two cups here, and it doesn't obstruct your arm throw at all. The arm pad here, the armrest here is very comfortable. It's not alcantara like the rest of the interior, so it makes it very easy to clean. Although I kind of do wish they did upholstery in alcantara, because I'm a sucker for alcantara. I love alcantara, but it would also kind of make it blend in with the rest of the interior components in the ZL1, being that the armrest over here is alcantara, the door pads and everything like that, the dash pad, all of that is alcantara. So I kind of wish they matched it with the armrest here, although it's not that much of a deal breaker. But when you look on the inside, there's not much storage space at all. Maybe your phone, maybe a wallet. That's pretty much all you're going to be able to fit inside there. Some change, you know, there's really not much room in here. You do have a glove box, and it is, again, very small. Once I put in the vehicle's manual, the vehicle's books in there with my registration and everything like that, especially with the books, most of the glove box was taken up at that point. But most of your storage is really going to be the back seats. The back seats are almost pointless unless you are shorter yourself and you can move your seat up a little bit and you're traveling with children. You can fit them in the back. Then, me being 6 feet tall, I do like to almost have a race car-like driving position. To me, it's more comfortable to be seated up, arms bent, you know, grasping the wheel at 10 and 2. I just enjoy it, and it feels more comfortable to me than leaning back. Driving in this position here, there's a few inches of leg room behind me, being 6 feet tall. So if I move my seat up a little bit, traveling with, you know, children is really all that's going to be possible. So mostly right now, that is a very expensive padded duffel bag rest. The thing I was surprised about also is that the back seats do fold down in my CTS-V sedan. They didn't, although in the CTS-V coupe they do. The trunk entranceway is very small. That's not a secret. Everyone kind of knows that. But the trunk is actually pretty deep, and we have gone food shopping in this car. We were able to fit everything in the trunk without any problem, with a few big items maybe in the back seat. Living with this car daily has been so far pretty much a breeze, as long as you don't have to transport people in your back seat. It's honestly pretty easy to live with on a daily basis. So that brings me to my next point, and that is the suspension. The suspension in this car is a thing of beauty. It is their newer version of their magnetic ride suspension. I did have that in my CTS-V as well, but it was the prior gen. So this one here, you're gonna have 3 modes with it, and the 3 modes, really you could feel the difference, which is nice. So in normal tour mode, which we are right now, in everything in automatic setting, you're going to notice that the exhaust has baffles in it that it quietens down the exhaust. You can hear everything's pretty quiet. You can pretty much hear the supercharger over the exhaust. and the suspension is very compliant. It soaks up a lot of the bumps. The steering wheel is really light. It's not really heavy at all. The car is very comfortable in this sense, and this is kind of how I drive when I have my wife in the car. It's a very comfortable car, and it doesn't honestly feel much of a rougher ride than my CTS-V sedan did. We're on 20-inch wheels with low-profile tires directly from factory, and it's honestly on this rough road, this rough rural road. It's pretty comfortable of a ride. It's not bad at all. And then you could go down to sport mode. Now, sport mode, everything kind of firms up a little bit. The suspension gets a little bit tighter. The mag ride gets a little bit more sportier. The baffles open up in the exhaust a little bit more. It has a little bit more of an aggressive profile. It does quiet down a little bit, but when you get on it, the baffles open up a little bit sooner, and the steering wheel gets a little bit tighter, which is pretty cool. You actually do feel the difference in the steering wheel, and it's pretty dramatic of a difference from tour mode to sport mode. And then you have track mode. Track mode, everything firms up to a ridiculous level, and it's actually really cool to feel. And so the suspension really firms up a lot. The mag ride really gets into an aggressive profile at this point. Steering wheel really firms up by a pretty dramatic degree. I know there's a lot of people that are either for it or against it at this point. I do like kind of a stiffer steering profile. It feels a little bit more sporty to me, but I know a lot of people out there, even, you know, race car drivers and everything, they do like the Tour steering profile. It doesn't affect your degrees of rotation or anything like that. It's just firmer or softer, however you like it. Let's go over some railroad tracks here. Not too bad, and we're in track mode right now. So, but yeah, everything kind of firms up and gets a little bit more focused. The exhaust baffles, I think they almost stay open all the time in this mode, which is pretty darn cool, and it gives it like a very aggressive growl. And honestly, it's like a jack of all trades, this car. This car is absolutely phenomenal. And then you have active rev matching. So active rev matching, I do know how to heel toe, but it works so well. It's like, why do you even have to? So you just downshift. Oh my God. Woo! Oh my gosh. This car is an absolute animal. And it just begs you to do so over and over again. This car, it's just it brings the inner child out of you, which is what I love most. Honestly, the technology in this car is what you would expect with a lot of newer cars. Now, funny enough, the CTS-V that we had didn't have like Bluetooth audio streaming or anything like that. You can connect your phone, but it was missing some weird features here and there, and that's because it was based off a 2009 vehicle, and they never really upgraded the head unit. So as a 2013, for what we had, it was a little weird that it was missing some weird things like that. But with this car here, it has basically everything you could ever want. Now, this head unit, they do, the only option with it is with or without navigation. And this car here does have the navigation option, but it does also have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, with Android Auto, I find myself using just the Google navigation in Android Auto all the time. It's actually pretty impressive that you have two modes of navigation that you can use depending on whatever you want to do. But it has all of that. It also has Bluetooth audio streaming, of course. But inside the head unit it's pretty interesting. From here, you could go to settings and you could go to driving mode, and you can customize basically how the car is aside from your three modes. So like I had just told you, we have Tour, we have Sport, and we have Track mode, and all the things that it changes for each mode, you could just set to be an all the time thing. So let's just say I like the engine sound management to always be on track mode. Regardless of what mode I'm in, I just want this car to be loud all the time. that you can do. Also, from within this menu here of engine sound management, you could set stealth mode. Now, stealth mode is really cool for those of us that live in communities or anything like that, or you have neighbors that are really close by and you don't want to get them angry if you're driving late at night or anything like that. When you start the car and pretty much when you drive, the car is super quiet. Now, you could hear it here. Car is really quiet. Now, funny enough, you get on it a little bit and it still kind of gets loud, still has this grunt to it, but it's still really quiet. So when you just want to like sneak around town and not wake up all of your neighbors, you do have that stealth mode. Pretty cool how you could just adjust everything, and that goes to all the different aspects of this vehicle. So you could go to steering mode, and you could have it in track mode, but you could put the steering in tour if you like a lighter steering wheel, and it'll always be in that lighter mode. And that also goes with the suspension. We could have it in tour mode as far as the vehicle goes, but we could have the suspension in track mode, so that way the suspension will always be tight, or vice versa. You could really adjust it any way you see fit, and that is really cool for a techie like me. It's just cool that you can adjust so many things with this car. It also has LED ambient lighting. That is just, it's neat, doesn't affect the car at all and how it drives. It's just a nice little thing at night that you could just see the different lights light up, and then you could also set it for when you change the mode of the vehicle, all the lights in the car change to a different color according to the mode you're in, which is pretty cool. Also, as far as technology goes, you do have blind spot monitoring, which honestly has saved me a few different times. I didn't have necessarily any scares, but I find myself now kind of almost relying on it a little bit, because this car does have its blind spots. So a major one is your back corners. It's really hard to see out of those rear mirrors because the headrests kind of just, they block that view. And you can kind of see that with this headrest here. You can't see out that window back there. It's kind of the same experience that I'm having with the passenger side. So you do have blind spot monitoring in the window, in the mirrors, driver and passenger. They stay lit when there's a car in your blind spot, and when you turn on your turn signal, there is no audible tone, but they start blinking, and it is bright enough that even in daylight, when you're looking in your mirrors to see if anyone's there, you can see them. The mirrors do kind of move out a decent amount angle, so you can kind of position them, if you position them properly, that you can see your blind spots pretty well. But the blind spot monitoring system is definitely a must on this car, and I am super glad that they incorporated them in there. But there's also another blind spot. Now, I would say it's out front here on the A-pillar on the passenger side. Just, it's a very big zone for that A-pillar, how it comes in, because the airbag that's there, and then you have the mirror there. And I do sometimes, when I pull up to an intersection, find myself looking back and forth real quick to make sure there's no one walking in the crosswalk, because it's almost hard to see. But you do kind of get used to it. You know, like I said, after driving this car for about 20 minutes, you get used to how the car kind of has its quirks and its blind spots, and you kind of work around it. It's not something I actually consciously think about anymore. It's just, you kind of get used to it.
So what do I think about owning the new Camaro ZL1? Well, to be honest with you, it has rekindled some excitement that I've been missing for a long time with owning a vehicle. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's manual and just has so much horsepower. As a total package, I just cannot stop thinking about this car. Every time I park the car too, I find that I'm also staring at the car as I walk away from it, something I haven't done in a long time. I just want to drive the car all the time, and I find myself taking the long way home quite frequently. So am I going to get rid of the car in 4 years like the CTS-V? Well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure, and I don't care right now, because I'm enjoying the drive in the new ZL1.